Dear scholars, professors, and my colleagues, we are Đức and Phuong from the University of Social Sciences and Humanities, Vietnam National University, Ho Chi Minh City. Today we want to present our research about characteristics of language use in family communication of STIENG people in Binh Phuong province. About the research context, it is exploring the linguistics dynamics. This study investigates the complex linguistic landscape of the STIENG ethnic minority in Binh Phuong province, focusing exclusively on the fundamental domain of family communication. As the region undergoes rapid socio-economic transformation, we also aim to understand how factors like urbanization, education, and occupation influence the critical choice between maintaining the traditional STIENG language or adopting the Vietnamese language. STIENG community is a heritage in transition. The STIENG people possess a rich cultural and linguistic heritage deeply tied to the Central Highlands and Southeast region of Vietnam. Historically, relying on agriculture, the community is now experiencing a profound structural shift. These transitions present a common dilemma for minority groups, balancing the preservation of indigenous identity with the practical necessity of integrating into the broader national economy through Vietnamese bilingualisms. This research have got 553 STIENG respondents. We have made a comprehensive survey designed to accurately capture language practices. We conducted a rigorous quantitative and qualitative survey across multiple districts within Binh Phuong province. The sample encompasses diverse demographics, ensuring our findings reflect a representative cross-section of age groups, educational backgrounds, and occupation within the STIENG community. This is the demographics of age distribution from 31 to 50 tax for 40%, under 30 years old tax 35%, and over 50 accounts for 25%. The survey deliberately captured a balanced cross-section of generations, enabling a precise analysis of intergenerational language shifts and the rising prevalence of bilingualism among the youth. For the socio-economic status profiles, educational attainment, the study cohort includes individuals ranging from those who are illiterate to university graduates. This broad spectrum allows us to isolate formal education as a primary catalyst for introducing Vietnamese into the household. For the occupational diversity, we analyzed respondents working in traditional farming, modern industrial sectors, and active students. Each sector places distinct communicative demands on the individual, heavily influencing their default language choice at home. The language used in families is analyzing communication context, intergenerational choices, and the dynamics of code switching. This is the statistics for the STIENG language dominance by context. 80% to express emotions, 75% to express daily readings. For casual conversation, it takes 65%. And for study-related topics, it takes only 15%. STIENG remains robustly dominant in intimate and emotional contexts. However, there is a drastic shift towards Vietnamese, 85%, when discussions turn to formal education and study-related matters. Intergenerational shifts. While adults converse primarily in STIENG among themselves, communication directed at children increasingly incorporates Vietnamese. This linguistic pivot is a strategic choice by parents and grandparents to better prepare younger generations for formal schooling. Consequently, the home environment transitions into a dual language zone, fostering early childhood bilingualisms. So it is flexible bilingualisms. Alternating between the two languages is highly common, reflecting the community's flexible bilingual practices rather than an absolute language replacement. This is the key research finding. Uh, you can see here the bilingualism trends by age from 60 or more to 45 to 56 groups uh, and until the youth and the teenagers uh, 15 to 29. The data reveals a stark upward trajectory in the frequency of Vietnamese usage and code switching among younger demographics, contrasting sharply with older generations who primarily rely on STIENG language. Here we have a table about education and language choice. For education attainment, we have levels: illiterate no formal schooling to primary education, secondary education, and high school and tertiary. Uh, Dominant family language. For the illiterate, it is exclusively STIENG, and the code switching frequency is very low. For the primary education, also the STIENG language is primarily used in family, but the code switching is starting to be moderate. For secondary education, there is a balanced usage of bilingual, and the code switching frequency tends to be high. For high school and more, the Vietnamese language is used increasingly, and the code switching here is very high. And for the impact on occupation, for agrarian workers, individuals in traditional farming show a strong preference for maintaining STIENG in all family interactions. For the industrial workers, exposure to diverse workforces accelerates Vietnamese adoption and integration into household speech. For the students immersed in the national curriculum, students frequently introduce Vietnamese terminology into family dialogue. And about the rational dynamics, examining how varying levels of urbanization across districts influence the retention of the STIENG language. Urbanization impacts district comparison. The percentage represents households where STIENG remains the primary language. Chân Thành, undergoing rapid urbanization and industrialization, exhibits a markedly lower retention rate compared to the more rural Dong Phu and Hoang districts. Drivers of language shift, urbanization, migration to industrial zones necessitates the use of Vietnamese as a lingua franca, which subsequently spills over into home life. For the education, the reliance on the national language for formal education shapes the primary academic vocabulary of the youth, and for the economy, access to broader employment opportunities and social mobility too closely tied to proficiency in the national language, that is Vietnamese language. So the vitality of the STIENG language, resilience in the home. Despite the rise of bilingualism, STIENG is not disappearing. It is being maintained strongly within the core family unit. For the emotional anchor, it remains the primary and most authentic vehicle for expressing deep emotion, cultural identity, and traditional values. About the linguistic adaptation, the language is adapting to modern realities, forming a practical code-switching pattern rather than suffering complete linguistic adjustment. It is a sustainable pattern. The current linguistic shift does not signal the damage of the STIENG language. Instead, it represents an integration-oriented lingualism. The STIENG community in Binh Phuoc province in Vietnam is successfully navigating modernization while actively preserving the indigenous roots within the family. Uh, so here is the future trajectories and implications. For the current state, strong familial maintenance alongside functional Vietnamese bilingualisms. For the emerging trend, increased baseline code switching as today's bilingual youth become parents. For the policy need, implementing digital knowledge tools to archive and promote STIENG vocabulary. For the education, integrating STIENG cultural education within local, technical, and primary schools. So that's all for our presentation today. Thank you very much for listening. If you have any questions, just send it to us, please. Once again, thank you very much.